Hey, welcome back to the MVP Show. Our guest today probably doesn't need much of an introduction. He's well known in the community as the co-host of CRM Audio and At Your Service podcast. I'm pleased to welcome onto the show the CRM Hobbit himself, Shawn Tabor. Full show notes can be found at nz365guide.com/143. Now let's get on with the show. Hey, Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I've been looking forward to it.
Mate, as a podcaster extraordinaire yourself, it's great to have you on the show. We're going to discuss everything about your journey to becoming an MVP and why you'd recommend it and things like that. Does that sound okay?
That sounds fantastic.
Cool, man. Before we get underway, where do you come from?
Originally or just now?
No, kind of like originally. Where was your where do you call home?
Okay. Well, I grew up outside of Chicago and moved to Florida when I graduated high school. The parents said they would pay for college. Quickly realized how expensive that was, and I was out of the tuition deal after about 3 months. So I just stayed in Florida and finished my degree.
So where are you now?
I'm still in Tampa, Florida.
Okay, so it is where the sun always shines, right?
Yep. Been here 30 years now.
Wow. Yeah. Man, I didn't realize that. That's a long time. But why would you go anywhere else, right? It's such a beautiful climate.
Well, there is something to be said for seasons. I do like the fall in the Midwest, but I don't like the dreary grayness of winter. So, yeah.
Interesting, as in, I'm, of course, moving from London back to New Zealand shortly, so I'm going to get 2 summers back to back, which I'm looking forward to.
That will be nice. That is on my bucket list to get to New Zealand.
Oh, well, mate, you have to come over to my place and we can have a barbie and whatnot when you come.
Absolutely.
Show you around. That'll be awesome. That'd be
fun.
Yeah. So tell me, tell me a bit about what does your day life look like in the Power Platform Dynamics arena?
So from a day-to-day basis, I'm working on a couple projects directly with Power Apps, and then some others just in the standard legacy Dynamics scope, right? My main focus is field service and customer service. So I don't get a lot of Power App or Canvas app interactivity with field service. I'm still working through the best ways to handle that. And I'm actually presenting at Ignite on a topic that might resonate. So hopefully, fingers crossed there.
Why do you think? Is it because the Resco client is there and, the mobile client is kind of sorted that does most use cases? Or why do you think there's kind of not been that avenue to get into Power Apps on field service?
Well, to me, the processes are so structured in field service, right? That you really have to have a purposeful app that will extend that process and doesn't really necessarily modify it significantly. So ideal Power App scenarios for field service would be something like a parts ordering app that you could launch from the field service mobile app via URL, or something like I'm working on a margin what if calculator. So if you're on the job and you need to if you're laying cable and you need 500 feet more of cable, you could then look at your margin to see, okay, what type of cable do I want? What pricing do I want on that cable? What pricing do I want on my services to maintain my margin?
Nice. Why have you kind of focused on customer service and field service?
Well, back in the day, like 2011, you could really know everything about Dynamics, right? Once 2016, 2015 came, and then Dynamics 365 and now Power Apps, I would say it's almost impossible to know everything. So to really, and it was also it was a branding kind of thing as well, but to really understand your focus and to not be just jack of all trades, master of none, you kind of do need to specialize. You need to have a focus, you know. It's like Nick Dolman. I immediately think portals. Jonas, I think XRM Toolbox and the capabilities there. There's when you start thinking of it that way, that's you get those connotations, and that's really where you have to be in order to stay competitive and stay knowledgeable in your field, I think.
Yeah. So recently I got a question from a listener, and they were saying, is the product set big enough for you to just choose one thing? Like, for example, could you just become a guru on Power Apps or a guru on Flow? Or a guru on field service, or any one of the other Dynamics 365 apps. What are your thoughts?
I definitely think you can. With let's just talk Flow, for example. There are so many different ways you can take that, whether it's custom connectors, the established connectors, the various functions, the methods. You could really go deep in how you can specialize there. With Power Apps, if let's just talk Canvas apps, if you could get very, very detailed on how to be more effective with galleries and components and all of that. I mean, it's so deep and wide that yes, I think you can specialize in those.
Nice. So your recommendations to the listener would be?
What I would say is find what really interests you. That's the key, right? Because there was a time where I was going to focus on Sales Navigator. I was going to focus on sales hard, and it bored me to tears. I mean, the functionality is cool. It really is great. There's a compelling story around it. But sales for me, I was never a good salesperson. I just wasn't. So the sales concepts just didn't resonate with me. Field service for me and customer service for me, I really love in the consulting field. I really love it when I can make something click for a customer, or I can really provide a solution where they go, oh my God, I just solved a problem, right? Those things I love. I wasn't getting that in the sales side. So that's why customer service and field service really resonates for me, because in most cases, you're making a direct change that's making a difference to somebody. And that really resonated for me.
So when you say Sales Navigator, you're talking about the LinkedIn Sales Navigator integration to D365 for sales, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, because I did remember you did do a few presentations for a while on that, didn't you?
I did. I trained with LinkedIn. I got all and it was just not fun.
Yeah. Did you do actually specific LinkedIn training by LinkedIn?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know you could get that.
Yeah, I did. I'm on my LinkedIn profile. I'm a certified Sales Navigator trainer. So yeah, but it wasn't. I didn't enjoy it because it was the same. It was kind of the same thing, Whereas with field service, I could talk to anybody about field service and make it resonate, whether it's a company, a manufacturing firm that is producing their own equipment, and talk to them about how predictive maintenance can really improve their product creation process and reduce their costs on the service side. Or I could talk to a mom and pop and say, let's talk about, when you call someone to do a preventive maintenance on your air conditioner, same thing. But, it's the same tool, but different scenarios, right? And then when you start talking about IoT and all the connected devices, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm not lying. It gets very exciting.
So tell us a bit about, have you touched the whole IoT stuff much? Not the mixed chips and stuff like that, but actually on customer, you don't need to mention who they are, but like practical IoT integration to field service?
We have gotten very close in my implementations, and then I typically handed that over to the technical side. But in a design concept, being able to being able to set up their products to where we're collecting data from those connected devices, and the technician's able to read that information prior to going on site, seeing what's wrong, and being able to make some adjustments, whether it's in parts orders or service requests, before they even get on site. And then I had a customer where their ability to have connection to the internet was very limited because where they're doing their service is below the ground, right? So being able to connect directly to a device, pull telemetry into the system, and then push that back once you get on connectivity is a really cool way to handle that in that scenario. So it's very powerful. I want to do more with it. I haven't done enough to my liking, but there's a ton of capability there, just a ton.
Yeah. So let's say, you're a lift manufacturer. You got these 10 lifts inside a building that go up and down, and you have IoT devices on everything from the ropes to the hydraulics to the motor, and you can tell when, based on the data, when, if you're like, a failure is potentially going to happen. It might say, okay, in the next 300 hours we're expecting a failure, we recommend you replace XYZ part. In that scenario, in field service, what do you call what gets created for somebody to go and do and replace that part?
So in that kind of scenario, when your telemetry is telling you that a predictive maintenance event is needed, what typically will happen is we'll generate a work order to have a technician dispatched to triage the issue before it breaks. Okay.
And so in those scenarios, are work orders traditionally, or most often in the work you've done, are they generated by, let's say, an IoT device triggers that?
An event.
An event, and then that event automatically matches it to a work order type that gets generated?
So basically through the IoT event, you're going to have thresholds, and based on that threshold, when that IoT event threshold is triggered, then that is going to trigger an IoT event linked to an incident type, which will trigger the work order.
Yeah. So do you currently see it where that's fully automated end to end? In other words, there's the first sign of human interaction is someone going out to replace the part, as in it's auto scheduled. It fits all those parameters. Have you seen it end to end where it's 100% from an IoT trigger to somebody arriving on site at the set time to replace the part, fully automated?
Fully automated to where the work order is generated, but then the scheduling has to take place, right? So there is a dispatcher involvement in the middle, because I haven't had a customer. You can, but typically, in my experience, I haven't had customers that have customers of their own who are typically where that work orders, that service location is, right? It's not a situation of my customer that I'm building the system for has all the ability of the scheduling within their own house, right? You're scheduling a work order to a service location of their customer, so an extended customer of mine, right? It's at that point you have to make some kind of connection with that customer to say, we got an issue. We see an issue in there. We want to send someone out. This is when we're wanting to do that. Is that acceptable? Now, the other ways that I've seen it is you can have those work orders display on a portal, and then a notification is sent to the customer that a pending work order is on their portal, and then they can go in and confirm it that way. That's still interaction, but it's more automated than with a phone call.
Yeah. So let me give you a scenario and tell me what you think of it. So imagine, if you would, a telecommunication company that has a big infrastructure footprint, spanning miles and miles of countryside, and whether they be cellular towers, mobile towers, what do you call them in America? Cell towers or mobile towers?
Yeah, cell towers.
Cell towers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what happens is that a cyclone goes through, and this telecommunication company has a a range of, commercial drone operators that fly the damage zone. They do a full 3D scan of a cell tower, and off that 3D scan automatically generate work orders based on the damage that's been incurred, but no human on site at that point. So this is assessing physical damage. Could be as simple as something like it needs a new paint job, to more complex like, 5 antennas got broken off and these are the exact parts, model numbers, etc. Then it automatically creating a work order that is signed to a third-party contract company. So, this is what I'm saying, bypassing the schedule operator, because it's not going to be scheduled from your company. It's assigned to a third party to automatically go out, and then their system can kind of, do the break fix as required.
So we had something similar with where you have subcontractors, and that, but typically it theoretically can be done, right? The issue is always that human element of being able to say yes, we're going to accept that. That's typically where we run into the issue. But if you have a structure with that subcontractor to where let me back up. Here's where the issue of the connectivity has a problem. It's in the availability of the resource. So if that subcontractor is inputting their availability of all their resources within our system in Dynamics, then yes, that can happen. However, if that subcontractor is doing work for 5 different companies and their full availability is not reflected in our dynamic system, then we can't do it.
So what about it was more retrospective? In other words, they said, listen, leave it with us. We've got an SLA with you that is going to say, we're going to fix that site in 3 days. We'll use our booking system. We will schedule, we'll book, and then we'll retroactively plug back into your dynamic system the fact that we did it at 10 a.m. yesterday and it was 1 hour and here's the associated cost bill, blah, 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 whatever's negotiated. Could it retrospectively put in time or not at the moment?
So the scenario was the subcontractor has their own field service and then they enable the... Well, okay.
So as the owner of, the infrastructure, you want to know kind of, if someone calls in and says, hey, we saw somebody dodgy out at one of your towers, you want to be able to go, yeah, that was XYZ company doing work for us because I could see, yesterday that they were out there on site based on this work order that's been retrospectively loaded in the night batch.
Yeah. It definitely can be done. But when you start getting into disparate work order systems, then you're getting into more complex integration scenarios, but it's still capable. The system's still capable of doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah, good. I always try on these podcasts to kind of learn something myself. So
yeah,
that's very interesting.
We had a customer with a very similar scenario where you had a set of technicians who were, let's call them wholly owned, right? They were employees, and then you had subcontractors who were just that, contractors. So to get the employees had their standard AD credentials that got them into the system. The subcontractors were guest AD users. So they had, limited functionality, no Outlook capability. They couldn't, because, there's requirements where you don't want your subcontractor emailing out as them to your customer. Right. So if I have Hobbit Co. and I want everybody knowing that Hobbit Co. is providing the service, doesn't matter who the subcontractor is. I don't want Jim Bob's AC repairs emailing my customer. I want it to come from Hobbit Co. So we had to manage that and make sure that worked appropriately. And it was a similar kind of process with, we could schedule their work provided we had their availability. So in that situation, we had to, when we were going to dispatch a subcontractor, there was a interaction via phone to make sure that the scheduling would work. And then the scheduling was done in Dynamics.
Yeah, makes sense. Awesome. Okay, so tell us, you've been an MVP for 3 years.
Yeah.
Was it worth it? Is it worth it?
Oh, I think so. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my actual MVP journey started about 8 years ago.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. It was something that I wanted very, very badly. And it was really when I was a customer. It was right before I ended being a customer and started being in consulting. And it was really because I looked up to those folks in a big way. I got a lot of information from them, and they were always so helpful, right? So, and again, like I said about customer service and field service, I really enjoy that part of helping people, right? That's a very satisfying feeling to me. So so to my mind, I was like, well, you know what? The more I can do that more I could help people, that would be even better. So back in the day, before I went into consulting, I said, well, I need a brand. And how CRM Hobbit came about was actually, I would, go on the blogs. Like I used to read, you remember the Stunware blog?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you mentioned that a couple blog posts ago. I read that religiously. I also read Ann Stanton's blog, and she was the CRM lady.
Yeah, that's right. CRM lady. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I said, hey, if she's the CRM lady, my gamer tag on Xbox was Angry Hobbit, because I'm surly when I play and I get very, very cranky. So I said, well, rather than being cranky, I'll be the CRM Hobbit. And that's how that came about.
What a pain, eh? You should have stuck with cranky. No, but, I mean, like CRM's kind of like an on the way out word, right? But Cranky Hobbit, I think, would have even had more emphasis and power.
Yeah,
and like nothing got to do with your personality or anything. I just think it's a get in your face type word to have in there. I like it.
But that's how that came about. And I remember the first time that I went to Convergence as a customer, and I went to one of the hands-on labs, and I went up to Donna Edwards at the time, and I introduced myself. I said, "Oh, you might know me as CRM Hobbit." I didn't really think she would know that, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I've retweeted some of your stuff," and I was like, "Wow, I've made it." And then same thing happened with Richard Knudsen. He taught me all about processes. So it was that whole process that I was like, okay, I want in. I'm all in. I got to do this. Then I had the difficulty of, okay, it's all about contributions. How are you contributing to the community? I hate writing blogs. Hate it with a passion. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and I just was never consistent, right? I would do it for a couple months and I would stop. I would do it for a couple months and I'd stop. So it wasn't until when I'm working at Hitachi, and we had purchased, we merged with Customer Effective, and Joel Lindstrom became my, what was he, my mentor or was he my boss? I think he was my mentor. Yeah, he was my mentor at Hitachi. And I said, I really want MVP. None of my mentors are helping me be MVP. He goes, okay. And then that's partly how CRM Audio came about. He got with George, and it was me, him, and George. And that medium really was like, I'm like, I love this. I can do this all day long. This is fantastic. And it opens up to so many different possibilities that you can't necessarily do with a blog post easily.
100%.
Yeah. And then that really helped. That really helped. So,
mate, that is so cool. And so you really feel it was the Serum .audio that really boosted you into getting into your MVP.
Oh, I think so. I really do. I owe Joel so much. I really do. I feel that. Yeah, and then once that network, or once the podcast happened, then I really started meeting folks like you, like Gus, like Leon, all these folks, right? And it just started extending it more and more. So then from that, I was able to do more and more different types of things, right? And then it wasn't just the podcast, but the podcast is definitely an entryway in. And it comes back to, it doesn't matter the method that you contribute. To my mind, it really doesn't. For me, the podcast it allowed me to really show my passion. Like, I got really passionate about podcasting. I love it. It's fun. So it enables me to be passionate about the things I'm talking about on a medium I'm passionate about. That's the key. So because I have mentees that I'm like, I can help you if you're interested in doing podcasting, and they're like, ugh, no. So I'm like, okay, well, let's find what is, speaks to you. And once we find that, whether it's videos, whether it's blogs, whether it's forums, I have some, the thing with forums, I tried that when I first started pursuing MVP. I would want to make sure I'm right. So it's not an opinion. So I would go do my research and I'd come back to my question and 5 people would have answered. So I'm like, well, damn it. What's the hell's the point? So yeah, it's all about passion. Where's your passion? What gets you passionate? And then hone in on it, focus on it.
I like it. Well, time has flown and we're already at the time limit. So let's entertain ourselves with some quickfire questions.
Done.
Here's the first one. If you could write a book, what would it be about?
Star Wars.
Nice. What's something you disagree with about the way you were raised?
Wow. I don't really know. I can't think of them. I had a pretty good childhood.
Wow, I just stumped Shawn Tabor.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
Here's your next one. What's your love language?
Yeah, I think it's gift giving.
You like having gifts given to you?
Oh, I thought you were talking about what mine is to other people.
No, isn't what's yours to you? How do you like to receive love?
I can't think of the actual term. It's not gift giving, but it's communication.
Communication. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Would you rather be the funniest or the smartest person in the room?
Funniest.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Don't do something for money. Do what you believe is right, and the money will come.
Nice. I like it. Last one. What's something about you that surprises people when they first hear it?
I'm actually shy.
Yeah, interesting. Good answer.
Yeah, if I don't know you, you'll find I don't really speak.
Yeah, it's good. Mate,
if I know you, God help you.
You took your ear off.
Exactly.
Mate, I think that are you at the Orlando coming up?
Yes, I'll be at Serum UG Summit in Orlando talking about extending field service with Power Apps. And then I'll be at Ignite broadcasting at your service and doing a 20-minute session on Power Apps and field service.
Awesome. Sounds good. Now, I understand you got a Red Sox hat coming my way as well for my YouTube channel.
You betcha I will, because God help me if you wear a Yankees hat again. I don't know what I'll do with myself.
Awesome, man. If people want to connect with you online, you've got At Your Service Podcast or atyourservicepod.com. Where else can they find you?
You find me on the Twitter at Serum Hobbit, and I'm on LinkedIn, Shawn Tabor. And we're trying to do some stuff at YouTube at Serum Hobbits. Just search Serum Hobbit. You'll find me on YouTube. That's where we do the weekly dispatch. And we're trying to branch out and do some video stuff for the At Your Service podcast, and also at serum.audio.
Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to find out more about how to become an MVP, go to youtube.com/NZ365guy and find my playlist about how to become an MVP. Full show notes for this episode can be found at nz365guy.com/143. See you next week.